So I'm going to take you through a lesson in the style of communicative language teaching, and this is a lesson, a CLT lesson in Italian. Um, and so let's start at the beginning. And what I'm going to give to the students is a set of uh, functions of functional terms which they will find useful in this particular lesson, because in any communicative lesson, there's a need for this kind of language, the language of the negotiation of meaning. So students often need to ask the definition of terms like what does X mean? In this lesson, they're asked to describe pictures, so they'll need words like on the right and on the left. They may want to express the fact that they don't quite understand, so excuse me, professor, I don't understand. Sente, professore, non ho sentito bene. And different ways of doing that, a little more informal. Senti, Davide, puoi ripetere? Can you repeat that? Too fast. Again. What? Ok, va bene. Where? Dove? I didn't understand. Non ho capito. I didn't understand anything. Non ho capito niente. And if you're really getting frustrated and you don't know what's going on, you can say something like, oh hell, which in Italian, loosely translated, would be something like porca miseria. So hopefully students are going to use this language in the course of the lesson. Okay, so let's go to the first activity, and it's a little pair work activity. And I'm using this pair work activity to introduce the vocabulary. As you can see, these are the drawings which refer to the vocabulary, but some of the drawings do not have a vocabulary word, and that's what they have to find. So what I've got here is a little conversation between two students, A and B. Come si dice tree in italiano? Albero. Come? Albero. Come si scrive? How do you spell it? And so they spell it, and they're able to transfer the vocabulary terms. So it's a way of teaching or pre-teaching the vocabulary. As you can see, student B has the other set of terms for the vocabulary. So a cloud in Italian is nuvola, etc. So that's an initial little pair work, which is an essential part of communicative language teaching, and that is used here to present the vocabulary. And notice there is a degree of negotiation of meaning here, where you can ask for clarification, ask the other student to repeat, etc. Okay, then what I'm going to do is go on and present, which is the main part of the lesson, and that is the use of prepositions of place and location. So I'm going to use those particular vocabulary terms I've introduced already in that pair work activity. I have cutouts, and so I'm going to ask students where to put the cutout. So I have cutout of an armchair, una poltrona, and I'm going to ask, well, where shall I put it? And when students tell me to put it in the house, I can say sulla destra or sulla sinistra, on the right or on the left. And then I'm going to build that up, and so we have on the blackboard with the cutouts. I'm going to stick them in various places, and it's a way of eliciting and introducing prepositions. And then to practice that particular introduction of prepositions, I'm going to do a listening, and what it is a dictation. So I have a picture here, and I'm going to ask students to take out a blank piece of paper and to draw as I describe the picture. What I usually do with a dictation is to describe it 3 times. Firstly, all the way through, asking students to listen, and then secondly, I'm going to say each part of it, each sentence, and repeat it. And then finally, I'll read it all the way through again. So this is a dictation, and it's recycling the prepositions and the vocabulary we've introduced. But I'm also going to introduce some new vocabulary there. Un elefante. For example, una chiesa sulla collina sulla destra. Il sole che splende sopra la casa sulla destra. That's a few examples of some new terms I'm bringing in there. So it's a little bit like comprehensible input, just a little bit further than what the student will be able to understand. And while I'm doing the dictation, again, I'm going to encourage students to use any of the vocabulary for asking for clarification and repetition. Puoi ripetere, Davide? Can you repeat that, please? Okay, so that's a dictation. Kind of an old-fashioned type of activity, but still very useful, still very relevant. And in this situation, what we're creating is more of a communicative situation. And it's integrated with the rest of the lesson. So after the listening, in the style of communicative language teaching, I'm going to integrate a reading which also recycles the vocabulary and the particular function of describing a picture. So what I've got here on the next part is a reading, and I'm going to ask students to read the description and then look at the picture. And what they're going to find is that there are 5 deliberate mistakes in this written description. And so they need to look at the picture and see what are the mistakes in the written text. And then they need to make notes about the mistakes below. Notice I've done the first 2 for them. Numero 1, non ci sono 3 stanze al pian terreno, ci sono 2 stanze, 2 rooms. And 2, non c'è una poltrona nella stanza. There isn't an armchair in the room. Di destra al primo piano, c'è un albero. C'è un albero. Okay. And so modeling the answers is always a good idea, so they need to find 3 more errors in this written description. So we've recycled the vocabulary, we're recycling the actual function of describing a picture. Okay, what we're going to go on to next is more pair work, and this is speaking practice. So I've got an A and a B part, and so are given students lots of vocabulary and also the prepositions they need. And what they have to do is initially they need to write a description of this picture. So that's number 2 there. Descrivete il quadro, potete cominciare così. Describe the picture, you can begin like this. Nel centro del quadro c'è una casa, ci sono 2 piani nella casa, al pian terreno ci sono 2 stanze, nella stanza di destra c'è, etc. So we've given them a guide to this, for this written description. Once they've written their descriptions, then they're going to exchange those descriptions with student B. A is going to describe their picture, and B is going to try and draw the picture. So it's a similar type situation to the dictation. Student A is dictating the description to student B, and again, they can use all that language of negotiation, of asking for clarification, and all those kinds of things. So there is B, and as you can see, B has a different picture, but the same kind of structure.